Janis Joplin revised her will on October 1st, 1970. The same day she recorded Mercedes-Benz. The same day she tried to call Seth Morgan and he didn't answer. The same day she drove to Sunset Sound and sang one last song into a microphone alone. She sat with her attorneys in Los Angeles and went through her estate. She was 27 years old. She had been doing this kind of adult administrative work for 2 years, the contracts, the royalties, the legal structures of a career that had happened faster than anyone had planned for. When they got to the end of the will, there was one item that was entirely her own idea. She wanted to leave $2,500 for a party, for her friends. The invitation, she specified, should say, "So my friends can get blasted after I'm gone." Her attorneys wrote it in. It was legal. It was binding. It was Janis Joplin. 3 days later, she was dead. And the party happened, and the drinks were on Pearl. To understand why that party mattered, you have to understand what Janis Joplin wanted from her life. Not what she built, what she wanted. She wrote letters to her mother Dorothy from San Francisco in the mid-1960s, long, honest letters, the kind you write to a parent when you're far away, and the distance has given you enough safety to say true things. In one of those letters, she wrote about her ambition, what she was looking for, what would make the searching worth it. She called it the need to be loved, not famous, not successful, not rich, loved. She wanted to be loved the way Port Arthur had refused to love her, the way the schools had refused, the way the boys who voted her ugliest man on campus had refused. The specific love that says, "You are exactly right. You are not too much. You belong here." She had found approximations of it. The crowd at Monterey had loved her. 7,000 people stopping cold. That was a kind of love. The fans who left notes under the wipers of her Porsche. The critics who called her the queen of rock and roll. But those loves had conditions. They loved the performance, the boa, the voice, the legend that was already forming around her while she was still alive. The love she was looking for was simpler. The love that shows up, the love that answers the phone. She called her close group of friends by a collective name, the Brotherhood. These were the people who had been there before Cheap Thrills and Monterey, the musicians and roadies and San Francisco originals who had known her when she was just a girl from Texas trying to find her place in Haight-Ashbury. She bought them drinks at every bar she ever went to. She paid for dinners. She showed up when they needed her. She was, according to everyone who knew her well, relentlessly generous with the people she loved. And when she was alone, in a bar corner on her birthday, in a hotel room waiting for people who didn't come, the loneliness was the specific loneliness of someone who gives a great deal and is not always sure what comes back. On her 27th birthday, January 19th, 1970, she walked into a bar, ordered drinks for every stranger in the room, and sat alone in a corner. Nobody knew it was her birthday. Nobody came to celebrate with her. She bought 200 strangers a drink and spent the evening by herself. That is the woman who left $2,500 in her will for a party. Not for herself, for the people she loved, so they could raise a glass in her name after she was gone. The album she was finishing when she died was called Pearl. Pearl was her nickname, the name she had adopted in the final year of her life as a kind of alter ego, or maybe a truer self. Janis was the Texas girl, the Port Arthur wound, the performance. Pearl was something else, something slightly freer, something that could sing Mercedes-Benz alone in a booth and say, "That's it," and mean it. She had started signing letters Pearl. She told interviewers to call her Pearl. She was building something, a new version of herself, in the last months of her life. The will said, "Drinks are on Pearl, not Janis, Pearl," the name she had chosen for herself, On October 26, 1970, 22 days after her death, the party happened at the Lions Share Club in San Anselmo, California. The Grateful Dead played. Her friends came. The drinks were free. $2,500, every cent spent on the people she had loved. She was not there. She was buried in Los Angeles, at Lawn Haven Memorial Gardens in Port Arthur's rival city of sorts, a cemetery where the headstone would eventually read, Janis Joplin. 1943 to 1970. The party happened without her, the way all the best parties eventually do. Here is the question people keep asking about Janis Joplin. Did she have children? Did she want children? Did she ever try to build the ordinary life, the family, the stability, the thing that Port Arthur had told her was the point of everything? The answer is complicated. She got engaged to Seth Morgan 6 weeks before she died. She was trying to find out about a marriage license the day she died. She had talked to friends about wanting children. She had written about wanting a home. The word normal appears in her letters more than people expect, used with longing, not contempt. She didn't have children. The engagement to Seth Morgan did not lead to a wedding. The marriage license inquiry was cut off by an unanswered phone call and a chain of events that ended in room 105 of the Landmark Motor Hotel. She was 27. She had time. She thought she had time. The party was the closest she came to building the thing she actually wanted. Not a concert, not an album. A room full of people she loved, raised glasses, her name on the invitation. She would not be there. She knew she might not be there. Wills are written in anticipation of absence. But she arranged it anyway. She set it in motion. She paid for it in advance. That is the definition of love. Arranging for the good thing to happen whether or not you are there to see it. Here is what this story asks you. What would you leave behind if you could leave one thing for the people you love? Not money, not possessions, not the official legacy. What is the specific gesture that says, I was here, I loved you, I wanted you to be happy even after I was gone? Janis Joplin left $2,500 and an instruction. Get blasted. Raise a glass. Remember me as the person who bought the drinks, not as the queen of rock and roll, not as the voice that stopped 7,000 people at Monterey, not as the woman on the Cheap Thrills cover or the Pearl album or the Porsche with the history of the universe painted on it, as the person who bought the drinks. The invitation said, drinks are on Pearl. Pearl showed up, the way she always showed up, even at the end, even after. Subscribe. The next story goes somewhere nobody has taken you before.